Hello and welcome to another little gear review on this channel. So if you remember, a few weeks or already months ago, I did a video on those filters here. The Kase KW Revolution filter kit, which is a magnetic round filter kit I've been using now since I got it basically. And what it contains is a set of round magnetic filters, which are color coded. So you have polarizers, you have different ND filters. And what I also got in addition, and it's not part of the kit, is this here. It's a simple UV filter, so it doesn't have an effect on the image. It's just for protecting the lens if I don't use any of the other filters. Yeah, so you might ask, why do you need such a filter? And yeah, to be honest, I've been using those filters like 10 years ago or 14 years ago. When I first got camera and lenses, it was a big investment, and I wanted to protect the lens, the front element of the lens, which is why back then I got a UV filter as my first filter. To be honest, those filters I got back then were not very good because they had used cheap glass or resin and they reduced the sharpness of my images. So as soon as I went to take my photos with GND filters most of the time, I stopped using UV filters altogether because I thought, what's the point? If they harm image quality, why should I put it in front of the lens? I mean, they protected the lens, but other than that, every photo was less sharp than it could be. And since I was using GND filters nearly for all my images, and if I didn't use GND filters, I used polarizers or ND filters, I always had a filter in front of the lens, hence the lens was protected. Now, I no longer use GND filters that often, but I still want to protect my lenses because even the expensive ones, for example, this here, the 1535 from Canon, it's weather sealed, but the front element will only be sealed if you screw in a filter. They even tell you that. And also I think this one here, the 100 to 500 lens, it also benefits from putting a screw-in filter in the front just to protect it from the elements. Last week I was in the desert and I was mostly taking photos with a long lens. There was sand blowing around, and those little particles, if they get to the front element, you have to blow them off, sometimes wipe them off, and if you have bad luck, those can even get somehow behind the front element of the lens. So additional protection really helps. Also, if you just swipe those filters, they are coated, they are from Kase, so they use high quality glass. They don't scratch that easily, so it's a much more robust setup, especially if you're shooting in the elements. So if you only shoot in like fine weather where it's dry, where you're not exposed to the elements, first of all, it's kind of boring, but second of all, then you might not need such a protection for your lens. But if you're out in the elements, well, this really helps, especially if you're using expensive lenses, because just comparing like 3,000 euros for a lens versus 50 to 80 euros for such a filter, I think it's a good investment. Now, important thing is now, are those filters harming image quality like filters used to when I first got them like 10 years ago? Back then Kase wasn't around, so I used some other brands which I don't want to mention here, but most of them introduced some degradation in the quality. Now, good thing is I have here already a comparison, a pixel peeping we will do in a second, so I'll also let you look at it with and without the filter, and basically you don't see any difference. So I was using it at 500 millimeters for the test, so to really make it hard. And then I was shooting once with and without. And here you see for my 100 to 500, I'm using even a screw-on filter because this one I never remove. Even if I put on the KW Revolution kit in front of it, I'll leave this filter. This will never go off. This lens is now sealed. It's protected, the front element. And worst thing, I somehow might damage this filter if something goes wrong, but the lens should always stay intact. Now for the wide angle lens, I usually use, as I said, directly the KW kit with this magnetic filter. So that's now part of my photography filter kit. Okay, so enough talk about the filters. The build quality, as I'm expecting from Kase, is very good. Image quality, we're gonna look at it together now. So what we have here for the test is a very detailed postcard, and on the left, let me double check because you don't see a difference, so I no longer would know which one was with the filter. So on the left you have it with the filter, with the UV filter, the screw on, and on the right you have it without. So now let's go to 100% and see if we can see a difference. And I cannot see any difference, which is how it should be. So as I said, ideally with a UV filter, it's protecting your lens, but otherwise it's transparent. You don't even know that it's in front of the lens if you look at the photos. And that's how it is with the UV filter version 3, the screw-on one. So, I mean, let me just leave it for a second so you can look at it. Yeah, you shouldn't see a difference, so I don't see one, and I'm really close to the screen now. Okay, so this is one test I did. There's a second test which is important with filters, and this is how they cope with light sources. So I'm taking photos of cityscapes a lot, and what I sometimes noticed back in the time, so a few years ago when I was using other filters, mostly the resin filters, when I had those in front of the lens, you would notice some little tiny lens flares around the light sources. So it was not that easy to retouch also. And with good filters, again, you shouldn't see a difference. Now let me actually show you what I used here. So what we have here on the left side, I was using the UV filter from Kase together with the ND8, so the 3-step filter. And here on the right side, no filter at all. So let's just zoom in around the light source. So first of all, there is no visible difference to colors or sharpness, even with 2 filters. And also I don't see any problems. So here the shine of the light looks exactly the same in both photos. And if I hadn't told you which was which, you wouldn't know where I had the filters in front of the lens and where I didn't. And yeah, that's exactly what you want from high quality filters. And that's also what you get from Kase filters. That's a very quick review for the Kase MCVU filters, both the magnetic ones and also the screw-in ones. As you've seen, the images look identical with and without the filter. So the filter does exactly what it should. It protects the lens, but otherwise you don't know it's in front of the lens. What you expect from a UV filter, from a good one. Now for you it's now to decide if you still need one, because depends a bit on how expensive the lenses are you use. For example, for the expensive lenses from Canon, well, those set me off quite a bit. I have to save a long time to be able to buy those. For example, this one here, I'm not sure, 2, 3 years, maybe even 4 years I was eyeing it, basically since I got the R5. But it took me a long time to invest in it, and now, yeah, just adding another 50, 60 euros for such a filter, it's not too much for me, and it gives me a better feeling when I'm out in the weather. In the desert, for example, where there's a lot of wind, stuff, particles in the air. Yeah, this additional protection comes in handy, and the same is true for the 15-35mm lens. I just prefer wiping a filter when I'm at the coast versus wiping the front element and having all that salt creeping into the little spaces there. It's just better to have a filter. Okay, yeah, that's it. I'll leave links to Kase Filters Germany in the description below if you want to have a look. Also, you'll find Kase shops all around the world. Get those filters everywhere, maybe even at Amazon, so I haven't looked yet. It's up to you to find your preferred dealer. And yeah, that's it for the video. See you. Bye.